it's Thursday. Actually, it's Monday and I'm doing this on my lunch break. It's not always easy to fit a whole video in every single week, but we make it work. So the intention for this week's design was for it to be the next in the Spoo Kitty range. So Spoo Kitty and Purr Resent. So the idea was like an Easter kitty that just sort of wanted to fit in with his bunny friends. Mr. Knotts has named him Lord Thiefington, and my second attempt has been dubbed Ozark the Sinful. So the design didn't really turn out the way I had envisioned, but having lived with these two little dudes for the last couple of weeks, I've decided to go ahead with this video anyway and share the pattern. So I will be showing you how to make Ozark the Sinful today. Let me know in the comments what the craziest pet name you've ever encountered is, because these two are kind of up there for me. All right, let's get into it. So yeah, we'll start with making the head and body piece. Then we'll make his front feet and his back feet. And we'll make a little tail. We'll make his ears. And then we'll stop and assemble. So if anybody is just watching this for the cat pattern, that'll all be done and over with before we get to the Easter themed nonsense. And then after we've done that, we'll come back and we'll make him a pair of bunny ears. That's kind of a little bonus. Now onto tools and materials. So we'll start with yarn. I'm going to be using 8-ply 100% acrylic for the whole project. You are going to need a cat colour, a bunny colour, and you're going to need an inner ear colour for the bunny. You're also going to need a small amount of black to stitch on some facial features. And when I say a small amount, I literally will not use more than what I've got on my needle there. So that's just some embroidery thread. You're going to need your 3.5mm hook. Now all of these yarns recommend a 4mm hook, and I haven't said it in a while, but I always recommend sizing your hook down. So I'll be using my 3.5mm one today. You're going to need pins and needles. You're going to need stuffing, and you're going to need your 15mm safety eyes. But that's it. So when trying to get a center pull out of your yarn, I don't think I've shown this before, take the paper sleeve off, give it a good pat, then basically you finger around inside there until you find something that feels particularly loose and you give it a tug. And I've just added the paper sleeve back on there, but ta-da! So you will get a little bit of yarn vomit, but you also end up with this really nice, easy center pull. Okay, so we're going to start with the head and body piece. We start at the top of the head and working in just continuous spirals, we're going to work all the way down to the butt, all in one piece. And I'm going to add in this little lip protuberance as we go. So anyway, grab your cat colour and your hook, and we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 and we're going to start working our way down. Right, so we're 5 stitches into row 9 and the time has come to start building up our nose. So the first thing I'm going to do is put 3 triple crochet into the same stitch. Now triple crochet is when you yarn over your hook twice before you insert it through the next stitch. I'm then going to put a single crochet into the next stitch and then 3 triple crochet into the one after that. I'm then going to complete the round with 22 single crochet. Okay, so that's the end of row 9. So now in row 10, we're going to start with 5 single crochet again, which brings us back to the start of the nose. And then in the next 3 stitches, we're going to do 1 decrease. So I call these a decrease 3, where we insert our hook, pull up a loop, insert our hook in the next one, pull up a loop, and insert our hook in the last one, and pull up a loop. We've got 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 to finish off that stitch. So that reduces those 3 stitches back down to 1. We're going to single crochet in the stitch in the middle, and then we're going to do another decrease 3 on this side. And then once again, we're going to do 22 single crochet to finish off the round. Okay, so that was the end of row 27 and we've worked our opening down to 18 stitches around. Now the time has come to position the eyes and stuff it. So I've positioned them just after row 7 and I have made sure that the inner corner of each eye is tucked just under his little snouty moustachey bit. Right, so you can see that I've stuffed quite firmly, and now we are just going to complete the final 2 rows and finish off. And there is part 1 complete, and I'm just going to take this moment to stitch on a little nose. So what I'm just going to do is, using a little bit of pink, is stitch over the middle single crochet that we put between our 2 little triple crochet lumps. And then I'm just going to use a tiny amount of black and stitch on a little bit of a mouth just underneath. So there's 3 triple crochets in each of these little poofs, and I'm going to stitch the mouth over the middle 2 on each side. Just like that. So it's just a tiny little line tucked mostly under, but you can just sort of see it peeking out. Okay, so we are now going to pop part 1 aside, and we're going to make some little feet. Okay, so we'll start with the front feet, and the way they are constructed is we're going to start at the base of the foot. We're going to work up a couple of rows, and then we're going to use a couple of decreased 3s again to build out these little toes. And then we'll just continue working around and up until we've built out enough of a little leg. We're going to leave this end open, and we're not going to stuff this piece at all. So grabbing your body colour once again. So there is our first leg. You'll see we've got a little bit of a toe bloop. Yes, that is a technical term. And now we need another one just like it. Ta-da! Okay, so for the back legs, we make them in 2 separate pieces, not unlike the bunny feet that we made last week. So we'll start with the haunch, which is just a big round piece, and we're going to work that up in a continuous spiral, working from the inside out. Right, so that's part 1 of the back leg, and now we just need to make a little foot as well. So it is a simple little tube, working from the toe down to the back of the foot, and it's left completely open. We actually don't stuff any part of any of the legs, and we just make those in our body colour as well. So there is the second part of our back leg. You'll note that this end is still open, and we're not stuffing it. But what we will do is when we go to sew it on, we will squish it flat like a little pancake and just sew through both sides onto the body. So now we need another one of both of each of those pieces. Ta-da! Alright, so with the back legs done, we're just going to work on the tail now. So the tail we work up as a tube. We start at one end and we work our way down to the other, and this end is left open. So we make that in our body colour as well. And there is our finished tail. So you'll see that those last 2 rows we worked gave us kind of this little flap to help us attach that when we want to stitch that onto the back. So we're going to pop that to one side as well. And last piece we have to make of just the base cat is just a couple of small ears. So these are worked from the tip of the ear down. They're worked in a continuous spiral, and we make basically a little triangular piece, and then we give it a pinch and then a fold. So we finish the ear off with just 2 single crochet, just because it moves our finishing point to a better place on the ear. There we go. So there is our little cone shape. We're going to tuck that end in, and we're going to squish it flat like a pancake with the finishing off point in the middle. And then we're going to bend it away from that ending point to get our ear shape. I'm going to try a different kind of magic this time. So, ta-da! So there are our cat ears. So those are all the pieces we need for the cat himself. And what we might do now is just take a moment and pin everything on where it goes. So I'm going to start with the front feet. So first things first, I'm going to mark the front of the chest, which will protrude out. So that's center front. So you want the feet to just only very slightly protrude past the bottom of the cat. And you want to line it up with one of the rows of stitches because that will help us sew it on in a minute. Just pin along the top and then pin it down on the body where you want it to be as well. There we go. And now on the other side of that center front, we need to do the same thing with the other paw. Check to make sure he stands up okay. Okay, so we're going to sew our front legs on using a little bit of our body colour. So we pinned to line up with a row of stitches, and so now we're just very carefully going to only sew through the gaps between the stitches. So you can see that there are gaps between the stitches, and we are only ever going to insert our needle through those. And that goes for the leg as well as the body. So stitching this way can really help disguise the joins in your pieces. So I've stitched along the top, and you'll note that my leg is still all flappy. So I'm going to stitch down the side a little bit, and then I'm going to stitch sort of midway down the leg. So at this point I'm just going to pass my needle through the leg, out the other side, and sew back up to the top. So to finish off, I just insert my needle where the next stitch would be and thread it out through the body somewhere else. and give it a little tug to make sure it's firmly attached, and it very much is. So then we can trim this off, tuck it inside, and use your hook just to pull any spare tails inside the body where they can't be seen. So there we go, our first leg is attached, and now I'm going to repeat that process to attach the second leg. So there are the front legs attached, and now we are going to pin on and attach the back legs. So we'll start with the haunches. That's this round bit that we made. So one end has a tail on it, and that's going to be at the bottom of the piece. We're just going to line those up behind where those front legs are. So note that the tail is kind of at the front side of the back. And these are going to pooch out slightly, but we are not going to stuff them. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this one's going to be a little bit trickier because it's not in line with any particular row of stitches, but once again, stitching only through the gaps between your stitches. Sew those two pieces on. Okay, so with both back legs attached now, we are going to do the feet. So as I mentioned before, we're going to pancake them and attach them to the base of the haunches. Have them point slightly outwards as well. It'll give you extra stability as well as be cuter. And once again, just test that he stands up before you sew them on. Okay, so next up we're going to do the ears. And in attaching these, I'm going to specifically leave room to attach the bunny ears as well. But if that is not a concern for you, don't worry about it. So remembering to keep the tail at the back and stretch it out a little bit, just because you'll get a smoother transition from head to ear. Okay, so that's where I'm going to position mine. So I've pinned down the two sides with it curved in place, and I'm just going to use my nail to like tuck that front bit in and down, just to tuck it in a little bit nicer. So I don't know if that instruction makes sense, but give it a go if you end up making one of these, and see how you feel about it. Okay, and lastly for this part, we are going to just attach the tail and attach it just between those two back legs. And we're going to sew along the base, we're going to sew about halfway up, and then we're going to thread our needle through and then sew down the end as well. So there's the cat. And if this is your exit ramp, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and bye. But if you are here to make the abomination that is the bun cat, oh wait, was I calling it a cabbit or a bun cat? Anyway, if you want to add some bunny ears to this little guy, stick around. So okay, so I've whipped up a pair of ears. I'll put the pattern on the screen somewhere. You should be seeing that now. Basically, a couple of weeks ago, we made our little bunny. These are the exact same ears as from that pattern there. So if you need any further assistance with making them, head on over to that video. I will link it in the description below, and that should give you a little bit of extra guidance if you needed it. But basically we just made a pair of ears from that pattern, and basically what I'm going to do is pinch the narrow end, and I'm going to attach them just behind the cat ears. Just like that-ish. I'm going to tweak that one slightly, and then what I'll do is, while I've got my needle threaded with some of the white, I'm going to stitch on a headband as well, just to complete the look. So I'm going to sew those on now. Alright, so that's it for today's video. I do have another pattern coming out next week, so don't forget to hit subscribe. A written version of today's pattern will be made available to my patrons and will be available in my shop as well. But other than that, I will see you next week. Okay, bye!